This branch has no army, no police force, no election war chest. Alexander Hamilton said the judiciary had neither force nor will, only judgment. And yet, in a constitutional democracy, judgment can be the wall between law and raw power. That is the contradiction at the heart of the American system. The courts are not supposed to rule the country. They are not supposed to serve a president, a party, a movement, or a mob. They are supposed to answer one question when power pushes too far. Does the law still hold? That is why this wall matters. The judiciary is not just another branch of government. It is the wall that tells power where it must stop. But this wall is unusual. It does not stand because it has soldiers. It does not stand because judges can command armies. It stands because the country still agrees that lawful decisions must mean something. Article 3 was designed to protect that independence. Federal judges are given protection from political retaliation so they can decide cases without fearing the next election, the next president, or the next wave of public anger. That independence is not a gift to judges. It is a protection for the public. Because if judges can be threatened, punished, or removed whenever power dislikes a ruling, then the law stops being a boundary. It becomes a suggestion. And a suggestion does not stop unchecked power. America has seen what happens when the wall holds. In 1952, President Harry Truman tried to seize the steel industry during the Korean War. The Supreme Court said no. Even in crisis, the president could not simply take legislative power for himself. The wall held. In 1974, President Richard Nixon claimed executive privilege and resisted turning over evidence. The Supreme Court said the evidence had to be produced. Even the president was not above the legal process. The wall held. After the 2020 election, courtrooms across the country were asked to overturn results, discard votes, and convert political grievance into legal victory. Judges demanded evidence. Claims without proof failed. The wall held. That is what judicial power looks like at its best. Not loud. Not theatrical. Not perfect. But firm. A line drawn around power. A reminder that winning an election does not erase the Constitution. A reminder that crisis does not cancel the law. A reminder that no one outranks justice. But this story has a darker side. Because courts do not always save democracy. Sometimes the wall fails. Dred Scott denied black citizenship and deepened the nation's moral wound. Plessy gave constitutional cover to segregation. Korematsu upheld the wartime exclusion and incarceration of Japanese Americans. Those decisions remind us that the judiciary is not sacred because it is always right. It is essential because when it fails, injustice can become constitutional. That is the warning. A court can hold the line. A court can also bless the line being crossed. So the question is not whether judges are perfect. They are not. The question is whether the institution is independent enough, credible enough, and courageous enough to stand when the pressure comes. And the pressure is here. Violence, intimidation, disinformation, defiance. Those are not abstract words. They are warning signs. When judges are threatened for doing their jobs, the wall is under attack. When rulings are smeared as illegitimate simply because they restrain the powerful, the wall is under attack. When disinformation teaches people that every adverse decision is corruption, the wall is under attack. When leaders suggest court orders can be ignored, the wall is under attack. Democracy does not only break when tanks roll through the streets. Sometimes it breaks when lawful orders become optional. Sometimes it breaks when judges become targets. Sometimes it breaks when citizens are taught to trust power more than process. A wall does not collapse all at once. It weakens crack by crack. First, people stop believing the courts are neutral. Then they stop believing rulings are legitimate. Then they stop believing orders must be obeyed. And finally, power stops as king permission. That is the danger zone. Because once court orders no longer bind the powerful, rights become conditional. Elections become contests of pressure, not proof. Citizens learn that the law protects them only when power allows it. And the Constitution becomes decoration. A symbol on paper. Not a living limit. This is why Canada should watch. Because when the rule of law is tested in the United States, the signal does not stop at the border. Canada is not watching as a spectator looking for entertainment. Canada is watching because democracies learn from each other. They borrow language. They borrow tactics. They borrow warnings. When institutions bend in one country, people in another country should ask why. When judges are threatened in one democracy, every democracy should pay attention. When lawful rulings become optional for the powerful, the question becomes bigger than one case, one president, or one party. The question becomes whether law still stands between citizens and unchecked power. That is the heart of the Judiciary Wall. It is not a claim that courts always get it right. They do not. It is not a claim that judges should be above criticism. They should not criticize rulings, appeal decisions, debate the law. That is democracy. But threatening judges is not democracy. Ignoring lawful orders is not democracy. Destroying trust in the courts because power dislikes being restrained is not democracy. That is how the wall is weakened. And if that wall bends, everything changes. Because the judiciary is where politics is supposed to meet law. It is where speed is slowed down. Where anger is tested against evidence. Where power is forced to explain itself. Where the strongest person in the room can still be told no. That word matters. No. No, the president cannot simply seize power that belongs to Congress. No, executive privilege does not erase the need for evidence. No, elections cannot be overturned by accusation without proof. No, rights do not disappear because they are inconvenient. No, power does not get the final word simply because it is power. That is the wall. And the wall must hold. Not for judges. Not for parties. Not for one side of a political fight. For citizens. For rights. For lawful elections. For the idea that government is limited. For the belief that even the most powerful people must answer to something greater than themselves. The law. So when the next test comes, the question will not be whether everyone likes the ruling. They will not. The question will be whether the ruling still counts. Whether leaders obey it. Whether citizens defend the process. Whether democracy remembers that courts are not enemies to be broken, but institutions to be challenged through law. Because once the wall falls, what stands between the citizen and raw power? That is why Canada is watching. That is why the world is watching. And that is why this moment matters. If the courts hold, power is checked. If the courts bend, everything changes. The wall is law. And the wall must hold. Canada is watching net, and so is the world. 1K in videos for your viewing. Subscribe not to miss our 6 p.m. every Friday deep dive. Support democracy today by supporting Ukraine through United 24 Media. Big hugs, Big Dave.